Hello, everyone. Matt Malatesta here. It is basketball playoff season, girls style. We're going to start with that. They start this week. It starts this game. Matt Malatesta, Matthew Ogle. All right, man. There's a lot to talk about girls basketball in the city of Houston. Completely loaded. So we're going to break down some of the brackets, who we think is going to do well in respective now 6A D1 and 6A D2. It's the new thing. They break it up by enrollment. So I kind of like it. Give more people the opportunity to win a state championship. So here we go. Region 2 D1. These are big schools on the north side of town, let's call it. Not a ton of superpowers there, but Klein has had a really good year. Michaela Celestine, she's committed to Prairie A&M, really good. She kind of emerged as one of their stars in that Klein ISD area. The Woodlands High School, Cy Ranch, I also like. Those are kind of the three that have a good shot to advance a little bit in that Division I, 6A, Region 2. What do you think about any of those teams?
Well, Klein, as you said, they're having a huge year. They do play in fairly competitive district whenever it comes to that. I like Klein Collins a lot. I don't know, would they be D2?
They're D2.
Okay, so yeah, Klein, they're I think in a really good position to make at least a couple rounds. Uh, Cy Ranch, they play obviously in that Cy Springs district, so they're pretty weathered, I would say, or at least experienced. So I'm interested to see how they perform, because they are battle tested. But yeah, I think in terms of D1 Region 2, I like Cy Ranch probably.
Yeah, Cy Ranch. Um, Avery Steele, she's kind of their star guard over there. She kind of is the straw that stirs the drink. Okay, so the D1 Region 3, they do have some solid teams. Anaya Foy is one of the top players in the city of Houston. She's committed to K-State out of Cinco Ranch. Bel Air is young. You've been on the Bel Air train over the last couple of years, or not Bel Air, Pearland. Summer Creek, always a talented team. They've gone deep. They've had a coaching change, but they're still having a solid season. And Dickinson's been a bit of a surprise as well. But any of those teams or players stand out to you in the D1 Region 3 area?
Well, as you mentioned, Summer Creek they had a tough go at it in the first half because of the tournament section. They've purposely played some of the best teams in the state. Obviously, they played the defending champs. They've played a few other really highly boasted teams, but they dominated their district. Aside, well, C King right next to them, I think they had a share of the district title. But Dickinson, they were kind of overlooked for a long time.
By who?
Well, whenever I've been making these rankings,
We have overlooked him a little bit, yeah.
yeah, because in terms of overall record, like it's easier to say, like, look at Clearbrook, like Clearbrook's 31-3, but one of those losses came from Dickinson. They're district rivals.
Yeah.
Dickinson's beaten Hightower. They've beaten Pearland. They've beaten a few other teams. The only team that's really beat them is maybe A-Leaf Taylor and Cy Springs
Yeah.
throughout the regular season. But they're going to be ones to watch. They have a lot of depth, a lot of spread. Uh, then out of the Katy district, like you said, Cinco Ranch, Nia Foy, she's a baller, shot caller. And I'm not going to say the whole thing, but yeah, that Katy district's pretty cool. They've got a few other pretty interesting heavy hitters. Seven Lakes was kind of a surprise that they weren't as good.
Right.
Elephant in the Room, their best player graduated, but her younger sister is pretty good. Madison, what's their last name again?
Carlton. She just committed to Rice. And I was watching the game last night. UT beat South Carolina. And Carlton is not, Justice Carlson's not really playing a whole lot, but man, what a wild game. Those two teams were number one and number four, or number two, number four in the country. That was really good. It's a little, I think Summer Creek is going to eventually come through and win this region just because of their experience, and they've been there the last couple of years. They have a new coach. But we haven't talked a whole lot about them either. But I think they just have that experience to get out of that region potentially, because there's not a ton of super talents. Um, Isaiah Blair
for Pearland.
for Pearland is one of the top players in that region for sure.
Mhm.
Her, Foy for sure. Um,
Would Dawson be D1 or
they're
D2?
D2.
Okay.
So that's kind of a look at the Region 3 D1. Now, the Region 3 D2 6A is a freaking bloodbath, Ogle. A bloodbath, I say. Okay, who do I love the most? Hightower. I'm in love with Hightower.
Wouldn't they be Region 3?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I mean Region 3. We're gonna go. We'll start Region 3. Region 3 because it's completely loaded.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Hightower, who's my number one. Um, they're the taller girl, Okiki. She just got offered by A&M, which is a big deal. She's just a sophomore. She's a beast. A-Leaf Taylor, completely resurrected program. They got a star in Natalia Gray, of course. She just committed, or she's signed with Mississippi State, which is great for her. But man, they beat some powers in their district and really have been kind of one of the power programs in the city of Houston, which is great to see because A-Leaf doesn't get a lot of shine, right? A-Leaf Taylor, Fulsher, of course,
Same district.
same district. They moved from 5A to 6A. They went to state last year. Now, could they get to state in 6A? Possibly. Rook, the guard.
Obgavire or
Yeah, she's really, really nice.
Ogbavire. Yeah.
We talked about Clearbrook. You mentioned them. Cameron McLaurin and Reggie Castillo.
Rosalia.
Yeah, those are the two stars. But they're so far down south. Not saying there's not good basketball down south.
No.
There is, but they're really good. And CE King is also that team that kind of flies under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you like?
I mean, I concur with your assessment. Hightower is they have so many pieces, as you said, Okiki, and then they got Kylie Bodian Foliaki,
Mm-hmm.
a few others that I mean, obviously had experience last year. They went to the regional final. I think they lost only to Summer Creek before doing that, and then they're very young but talented. Clearbrook, as I mentioned, they only have 3 losses on the year. It's been a vast difference compared to last year. Last year they had to deal with several injuries, primarily Castillo because she's been their rock as the point guard, and they had a losing record, and I think they lost in the first or second round. The playoffs this year, it's a completely different story. I'm really intrigued to see if they can keep that momentum rolling. Granted, I said they did lose to Dickinson. They split games, but I mean, 3 losses on the year at this stage. If you're at that point, then I think you're in a good position. You know you got your confidence in yourself, in your other teammates. I think that's going to translate onto the court down the line. Uh, Dawson, as I mentioned, they're the number 2 ranked team on our list. They they're the only ones to beat Pearland this year in terms of that district schedule. They had an undefeated district, and they play in a gauntlet of a district. I mean, they got Pearland, they got Manville, who's moved up from 5A to 6A, and that's another impressive team. So I think the fact that they're able to excel within that particular region, I think that bodes well for them moving forward.
Um, those girls at Clearbrook have played together for a long time.
Mhm.
I mean, they've been playing since their freshman year. Um, so that brings us. I mean, this is bearing the lead. The number one team in Houston is Cy Springs. I mean, they've got 2 superpowers in Ayla McDowell and Gemini Mitchell. Ayla, of course, is going to
South Carolina.
South Carolina. She's a McDonald's All-American. Can but they do play in a tough region. That Region 2 is a tough because you got some of the Dallas programs in there as well. But can Cy Springs make that run to state?
I think they're plenty motivated. Talking to Gemini before the year, and I'm obviously Isla. I mean, they said like we don't want to go back in the locker room like they did last year. They lost to Duncanville, the eventual state champs, in the regional semis. So I don't know if Duncanville has that juice this year. I mean, they're definitely talented. They're consistent. I think they've I mean, historically speaking, they have like what 30 appearances in the state
Right. Yeah.
state tournament, but I don't know, I think they got that juice this year at Cy Springs. I mean, and they they're both those two stars. They're both putting up over 25 points a game, and if you can't hurt them with one player, they can easily hurt you with the other. And I think that's going to be too much to handle for a lot of these teams. Uh,
Early on, I think here's the problem. They have a short bench. They have a short bench in the in the not saying the talent, but you got to be a little more deep to make that deep run to play those teams that are loaded and they have 6 or 7 deep that can really play. I think Cy Springs is leaning too much on their two power players, of course, which that happens all the time. But um,
I mean, if you got two dynasty stars like that, you kind of have
right,
to.
right. So let's see if they can do it. I'm rooting for them.
Grand Oaks is going to be pretty good too.
Grand Oaks. Okay, here's my bold prediction. Grand Oaks. Bree Riley's their
Mm.
star point guard. They're gonna run up against Klein Collins. Klein Collins is sleepy. They're really good, and they've won that district 4 years in a row. That Klein ISD district. But they're pretty young. They've got Anaya Heyman is averaging 16 points a game. She's a sophomore. Haley Neal, freshman, second leading scorer. They play fast. They play in your face defense. I think Klein Collins is going to be that team that advances further than a Westfield or a Grand Oaks that we think are going to be, the brand names. Watch out for Klein Collins.
Yeah, I mean, we
Enough
talked
said.
talked about them a little earlier.
Yeah, so Klein Collins is legit. So we're going to talk about 5A next week. We're going to get kind of down the road a little bit. In 5A, it's really Friendswood. No. I'm sorry. Barbers Hill. It's been a traditional power program, but there's not that many Houston area great programs that are 5A because they've all moved to 6A. And in 4A, you've got Willow Ridge who moved down from 5A, and you have Wheatley as well, um, a proud HISD program that's been really good for a long time. So watch out for those two programs in 4A. But we'll get kind of as we go deeper in the playoffs, we'll kind of whittle this down and say, hey, who is really, really advancing, playing well. I think Houston has a shot to win the state championship. I don't give them a great shot.
They got a lot of other power programs to deal with. I
I
think
mean, they got a lot. You got some teams out of Dallas that are really good.
Dallas, you got Boswell. They're right there, the number one team ranked in the nation. They got, I mean, if you want to talk San Antonio, you got Judson. I think those are both D2, but I mean, they're not alone. There's obviously Duncanville out of Region 2. There's
Yeah.
a few others. It's going to be a really interesting test to see that because the road to the Alamo Dome, it is not an easy one, especially now that there's one less. Uh, like
One less step,
yeah, I've talked with coaches. I asked if they prefer it that way. They say, well, in a way, you don't want that because you play the better teams sooner.
Yeah.
So you want to get those deeper runs, but you're going to be playing a team like Duncanville in round three. So that's not always as easy as it looks.
So another team that we failed to mention in 5A is Randall. Randall had a really good season. Iowa Colony has always been, a really good basketball team as well. So we'll see how that they play out in region or in 5A. But if we had to rank it, here's my rankings as of right now. Tell me where you think we would flip. Are we going to disagree? Likely. Cy Springs number 1. Yes.
Yeah,
Hightower number 2.
maybe.
A-Leaf Taylor number 3. Cinco. I'm going to go Summer Creek. Dawson, Pearland, Klein Collins, Fulshire, Clearbrook, Cy Ranch.
You just kind of rattled them all
I
off.
just rattled them off.
I think Cinco's a little high.
Oh,
I mean, they got an Foy.
I
They got
know.
like one other player. I
Yeah.
forgot her name. Sorry if you're watching. Uh, but I put in the rankings, the final rankings. I think I put like Cy Springs, then I put Dawson, and then three I kind of took a leap and put Grand Oaks. Uh, Number four, I think I put Dickinson. Oh no, A-Leaf Taylor. A-Leaf Taylor. Because
What in the hell? Where's Hightower?
I put them at like number seven. It's because they've lost to some of those teams that are above them.
All right, we're going to agree to disagree. All
But
right,
playoffs are a different story, though.
playoffs are different. Playoffs are different. All right, stay tuned. VYPE will be at playoff games. Watch highlights, watch updates, etc. We'll come back, redo this in a week to see who's advanced and who we really think is going to make that run. Girls basketball, come on. We need a state championship coming out of Houston. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Dallas seems to dominate this. It's annoying. Okay, with that being said, follow, like, subscribe, all of our YouTube channels, follow all of our Instagrams, etc. Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Southeast Texas, everywhere. All right, Matt Malatesta, Matthew Ogle. We'll see y'all at the game.